Loved by many, hated by a few, respected by all, second to none. And you know what? This is the third Saturday of the month, and the third Saturday of the month, the best radio show from Como to the Congo. And now you know we bring Counselor Michael J. Todd, Legal Standpoint with Michael J. Todd. What's going on, man?
Trying to make it, brother. How you doing?
You're doing all right, man.
Everything is the 2024.
Yeah.
I think this is my first time seeing you in the 2024.
Yeah, it is. It is. And this is January 20th.
I was going to say 20 days in. So how's 2024 treating you?
It's doing okay.
It's doing you good?
It's doing okay. Doing okay.
You're looking well.
Well, I'm trying to, hold up a little while.
Well, I understand.
I'm trying to hold up because, we got 365 days before we're back here again. It'll be January 20th, 2025. We will be inaugurating
Joe Biden.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wish the Democrats would get their act together, man. I'm just going straight with you, man. I'm disappointed in a little way, man. I'm feeling some kind of way because they're not articulating a coherent. Wait a minute, hold on. They're not articulating a message to me, man.
Well, you know what? I tend to agree. Because if you look at their record, they have things to run on. Biden has things to run on. But if you listen to the media, if you listen to the pundits, if you listen to the naysayers on the Republican side, they make it sound like everything is just bad. I mean, everything's just falling apart. And I really can't understand it. I know prices are a little high, but when you
got a job.
Yeah, but you got a job. But you also got to look at it like this. I mean, you had one stimulus with Trump where he's giving away money. 2 stimuluses with Trump, he's giving away money. Third stimulus with Biden where he's trying to tailor the money to those that are needed. And also, of course, ensuring that individuals that couldn't work had resources. But when you put all 3 of those together, it was a flood of money into the system. Right. People weren't having to work. People, you couldn't work at the time, things of that nature. And when you just have a flood of money in, what do you think is going to happen? The prices have to go up.
Because everyone has money.
Everybody has money.
Now, if everyone has money, what will the entrepreneur do? They're going to ask for more.
They're going to ask for more money.
Because you have more.
That's right. And you know what? And the thing is this. There was a period after Biden got in here where prices have started to go down a little bit. But the thing is this. The prices are not going to go back down to the level that they were before the pandemic.
Prices never go down.
Never go down. Not that much. And you know why? Because it's about greed.
It's about money. I mean, money, and not necessarily greed. It's about money. Prices will never go back down to the way it was when we were in high school, when you could feel
no. Well, the best example I like to give of prices going up and then going down some, but never back to where they were, right, before the pandemic. I've got a dog named Duke. Duke's a great dog. Champion boxer. His father was an AKC champion, things of that nature. So I buy Duke good food. He's in the breed program, things of that nature. Duke makes money for me. So I take care of him. So the food that I would buy Duke was called PetSmart. And it's the kind in the refrigerator, in the supermarket, the good stuff. Well, before the pandemic, I used to be able to buy this big bag of PetSmart for $19.99. Good stuff. Duke loved it. Pandemic hit. You know how much PetSmart went up to?
How much?
$26.49. I was like, man, that's almost $7 more. That's robbery, man. They killing me here. After the pandemic kind of went through and Biden got in, PetSmart went down. Now it's 23, 29, something like that. So it went down some, but it ain't going back to $19.99. And if I think it's going to go back to 1999, if that's what I'm waiting on, I might as well just do what? Stop buying it.
Right.
It ain't going to happen.
But
So
Duke's a big dog, so I know you ain't going to do that.
Yeah, no. He's my buddy. But the thing is this. So we're sitting here, we're talking about maybe the Democrats are not getting their message out. And it started me to think about, well, maybe as a voter, maybe we need to think of some maybe unorthodox type of course of action to make sure that we don't lose democracy with the election of Trump.
You think that's going to happen or could happen?
Well, you know what? It could. I mean, I'm hoping that it's not. But the thing is that it does concern me enough that I think I'm trying to think outside the box. And I don't want to say this is an idea that I had myself. I read a lot, and I've seen a few articles here and there that have talked about this, and it made me start thinking about maybe something different as it relates to the election system.
What you got?
I started thinking, I know here in Texas, we have what we call an open primary. You know what an open primary is?
I know what an open primary is, but I think that guy out there don't.
Okay. So an open primary basically means that you have a primary for the Democrats and you have a primary for the Republicans. In the state of Texas, an individual, when they register to vote, does not have to register as an independent or a Democrat. You just register. So what happens is that when it's primary day, or the primary election starts, you as a voter get to elect what primary you're going to vote in. So in the past, I've gone in on primary day and I've said, they ask you, do you want a Republican ballot or do you want a Democratic ballot?
I always say Dem.
I always say Dem. And I get the Dem ballot and I fill it out, I turn it in. But I started thinking, I was like, if I've got an open primary and if I've got somebody running on the Republican side that I'm just really uncomfortable with, maybe I should switch it up and maybe I need to vote in the Republican primary and then maybe try to vote against the person that I'm afraid of.
Wait a minute. Say that again, because I was updating this to make sure everyone is sharing like I'm sharing.
Right.
Say that again.
I said maybe, since I'm concerned not only about who may possibly win the White House, but also the democracy of our country, the existence of our country, it started me to think, well, maybe since I have an open primary, maybe I should ask for that Republican ballot and then maybe vote against that person.
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah, I know. That's like blasphemy. I know. To even think about something like that. I mean, that's...
I'm looking for your black card to take it back, man.
No, man. You know what? You can't take my black card back.
Okay, we're going with what you're saying.
But what I'm saying,
because a lot of people gonna say you ain't black no more. You do that, man.
Well, come on. Now, how could they say that?
Well, that's what they say.
Well, no. What I'm trying to do is think, and you know what? I'm just saying, I'm throwing this out to you. Okay. I'm throwing it out to the individuals that are listening to us, man, to just try to see, and let's just kind of talk through it, and just kind of see.
Because this is what this show's about, strategize.
Right.
We have to think more than just going in there and just pulling that lever and go like, boom. And then we vote for somebody that we really don't like. Because I remember the first ballot I received back in 1980. It was like...
Ronald Reagan?
Well, no, on the Dem side. It was like Phil Graham.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And I went to the Union Hall and I go like, wait, folks at home, y'all don't know what we're talking about. Phil Graham turned out to become what they call a boll weevil,
Right.
A person that was a Democrat but really voted on the other side.
Right. And ended up being a Republican. Republican. He did.
Yeah, like other people like Rick Perry. He was a boll weevil too.
Right.
Hey.
Yeah. So the thing is, so I've read a couple articles about this and I started thinking, I was like, when we sit here and we think about it, right? Let's think about this. There are about 17 states in the United States that have open primaries.
Where they at?
And we're not talking about little states. We're talking about places like South Carolina, that has a high concentration of black folks, okay? We're talking about Georgia. We're talking about Alabama. We're talking about Mississippi. We're talking about Arkansas, Tennessee, and then even up north when we're talking about Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, in addition to some other states. So let's think about it. What if black folks, and not just black folks, Democrats, what if we decided that we were going to participate in the open primaries on the Republican side to try to affect who our opponent would be in the general election? Now, what's one of the drawbacks if we did something like that? The first drawback would be if you vote initially in the open primary on the Republican side,
can't vote.
You can't vote
in the
Democrat runoff.
Right.
Right? So whenever you make a decision of what choice you're going to make, whether it's Democrat or Republican,
you stuck with them
for the primary season.
Now you come back in
the general election, and you can vote for whoever you want to. But in the primary season, you must vote in that primary. You follow me? So let's say if you jumped over and you voted in the Republican primary to try to sway that, to soften it up for the Democrats later, and you didn't make it. Let's say the person that you voted for didn't make it, but then there was some big runoff going on in the Democrat side.
And you wanted to affect change.
And you wanted to affect who was going to win the Democrat.
Who's going to win.
Right. Yeah. You couldn't do that. In Texas, we got this little saying that says you got to pick your pony and ride him. So if that's the case, you got to pick your pony and ride him as it relates to the primary. So that's one of the bad things about it, right? But it could be good. I mean, it could be good. But the thing is that when you look at it, right, and just think about that, wouldn't that be nice if we were able to affect elections in 17 states to deny Trump the nomination?
Yeah, I saw and heard not Chris Christie, but the New Hampshire governor, Sununu. He said what you were talking about denying Trump the nomination.
Right. And if you look at it,
and he was welcoming other people to.
Right. Well, and the thing is this. In New Hampshire, they have what they call a restricted open primary. Now, before when we talked about an open primary, we talked about individuals in Texas not having to register at all as a Democrat or Republican. You just register. In New Hampshire and in some other states, they have what they call a restricted primary, where you can, in that state, you register as either a Democrat or you register as a Republican. You also have a third option for registration, which is that you register as an independent in those restricted places. We don't have to do that because we don't designate anything, we being here in Texas. So in New Hampshire, and Nikki Haley has been doing this, in New Hampshire, to vote in the Republican primary, you have to be a registered Republican, or you can be an independent and elect that you're going to vote in the Republican primary, just like we would have a choice of either one here. If you're a Democrat in New Hampshire, you can't vote in the Republican primary. You have to vote in your primary. But those individuals that are in the middle, that are independents, those individuals can vote in the Republican primary. So Nikki Haley has been requesting that moderates and independents who are not registered as Democrats vote in who are registered in that state, vote in the Republican primary for her. That's what she's asking. And she's asking that because she's trying to get that coalition to do what? To try to stymie the forward motion of Trump at this point. Okay? So when we look at these 17 states.
And most of them are in the South.
And most of them are in the South, but there are a good number that are in the Midwest, okay? We talked about we've got Missouri. We've got Iowa. That didn't do too much good. We've got Illinois. We have Indiana. We have what's this state? Ohio. There's Virginia. Oh, excuse me. No, that's North Carolina. No. I'm sorry, not North Carolina. We have Virginia. Then up here, New Hampshire. Okay? It says open primary, but it's open to those individuals that are independents. And then we got some states out here going out west. Montana. I don't even know if they got any Democrats. Well, you know what? Tester's been winning. But you know.
One.
Yeah. Then you got North Dakota. And then you've got Minnesota. So we've got some states, though, that we could do something. And so the question would be, do we as black folks, do we as Democrats, do we as moderate people, do we switch over? Now, a while ago you said, hey, look, I can see your black card about to be revoked for even talking about it. You know, some people say, you know, just to even think about it.
Let me go check and see if you got any comments, someone saying anything about you on there?
Well, I've got some people saying, like my guy Thomas Johnson in D.C. says he's watching. My old classmate Roscoe Overton is watching, but nobody has said nobody has cast any aspersions on my character for even having this discussion yet.
Well, this is what we want you to do. Either support them or what's that word you used again? Cast what?
Cast aspersions.
Yeah. I just wanted you to say it because you talk so pretty. So yeah, you know.
I mean, you know what? I don't know how to take that. I talk pretty. What
man, I didn't say you were pretty though.
I said I know, but you said I talk pretty. What does that mean, man?
You talk like a lawyer, man.
Man, you know what? You better be glad I know you, boy.
Yeah, I said you talk like a lawyer. I didn't say you was pretty.
I know you said talk pretty. Huh?
Yeah.
Hey, I feel like that movie. I don't know how to take that. What you mean, man?
But let's see. I'm gonna look on mine here and see what we have here. Okay, we want people to share.
Right.
And we definitely want people to do that. And no one said anything about that.
So I wonder what people think about that. Well, I mean, what do you think about that? Because you know what? This is the thing. I have talked with attorneys. Mm-hmm. I've talked to professional folks. I've talked to folks that were, just people all from all walks of life. And, you know, whenever somebody mentions something about a Republican, right, I've heard people say, man, man, that's blasphemy. Yeah, I mean, that's like you cussing your mama or something. I was going to say, it's like talking about your mom. Yeah. And, you know, I've had people just shake their head because, I mean, I don't know if I should admit this or not.
What?
But, I mean, there have been times.
Be careful, man.
I need to be careful?
Be careful.
Well, the thing is this.
You can't take it back because once it's out there in the atmosphere, it's there.
Well, I know. But the thing is this. There have been times. That, let's say, there was some type of judicial election. And there may have been a Democrat and a Republican. I may have known the Republican as being a good person. I like to give this example when people say you could never vote for a Republican. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Democrat. But I got to say that. Got to say that. But the thing is this. There was a professor that I had at Howard Law School named J. Clay Smith. And J. Clay Smith was one of the most eminent brothers I had ever met. He had what we call an SJD, which was a doctor's degree of law, which was 2 levels above just a regular Juris Doctorate. Back in 1984, when I started law school, there were only 250 people in the country that had that type degree, and J. Clay Smith was one of them. He was my professor. I ended up being his research assistant, things of that nature. But he also, at one point, was general counsel for the FCC. He was also on, and I may mix it up a little bit. He may have been general counsel for the EEOC, and then he was one of the commissioners for the FCC, communications and things of that nature. One of the most eminent brothers ever, but he was a Republican. And man, people at Howard used to say, man, J. Clay a sellout, man, he's a Republican. But I can tell you that J. Clay Smith was one of the most down brothers ever for not only black individuals, but for the advancement of black folks as a whole. He was a great brother. I wasn't going to hold it against him that he was a Republican when he was somebody that I saw on a day-to-day basis that was doing things to help and improve the plight of black folks.
Well, and Republicans always talk about Frederick Douglass.
Right.
Like Frederick Douglass would be a Republican today. Well,
I don't know if that would be true.
Well,
if it was today.
Yeah, exactly. Today.
Right,
yeah.
not today.
Because the Republicans today are not even the Republicans of the Reagan Republic.
Well, you know what? I don't even, people always sit around and they say, well, he's conservative. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is conservative. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not conservative. She crazy. You follow me? Matt Gaetz is not conservative. He's crazy. Trump is not conservative. He's crazy. And so what they have allowed the crazy, band, the crazy coup of individuals, and they sitting here talking like these folks are reasonable. Now, okay, of course, the Republicans or the conservatives or whatever, they're going to turn, well, y'all got crazies too. Yeah, we do. But guess what? I'm not going to vote for crazy folks, no matter whether they on the left or right or whatever. But the thing is,
we may have crazies, but they never went and led an insurrection and tried to overthrow the United States government and tore up the Capitol.
Well, that is true. That's true. It just, that's just astounding. So the thing is this: since we're confronted with that type of deal, the hesitation that we as black folks have as it relates to maybe considering voting in the Republican primary to do what? To affect and put ourselves in a better position. I think it's something that we have to at least consider. What's your thoughts?
Well, I will go ahead and say this as well. It's been a time or two in which I voted for a Republican too. I'll be honest with you, I have.
Well, I didn't say I voted for one.
I said I have.
I actually have. I have.
And for the same reason, because this was a good person. Then you end up having how can you not be more of a Republican or a Democrat when you're doing something kind of basic,
Right.
And some things are kind of basic, if they had a Republican nomination or a Democratic nomination for something basic that is 1 + 1 = 2 all the time, unless of course it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, which she'd probably say 4 or 5.
Right.
But those are things to consider. But during this election right here, that's like playing with fire, strategic.
Right. Yeah, we have to be strategic. And so the thing is this. So we have to consider doing it. We have to consider. But the question would be, would it be effective, right? And even before whether it's effective, there are other things that we have to consider to see if this is something that we really want to do. Now, one thing I want to talk about, I want to mention while we're talking about voting in whether it's the Democrat or the Republican primary, is that to vote, you just don't get to show up on the day of the election and say, give me a ballot. You got to register to vote at least 30 days. I think the deadline is 30 days prior to the election. So the primary is going to be when? In March?
Right.
So by February, we have to start registering to vote, to be able to vote, folks. No matter where you vote, Republican, Democrats, because that's part of the problem. We're not registering and we're not voting. And let's remember, as y'all remember, I do criminal defense, state and federal criminal defense. All my people out there who have had a criminal felony conviction, that does not mean that you can't vote. If you are not on paper, meaning you are not on straight probation or parole, you can register to vote. If your parole or probation, a straight probation, or your parole has concluded, you are no longer on paper. You're not going down there on 8th Street to see the parole officer no more. You're not going down to the the probation department on a straight probation. If none of that applies to you, you can vote. I don't care how many.
We want you to go and register and what?
Vote.
Vote.
Right. Because they got this scare campaign going. Abbott and Paxton, they going around trying to arrest people. The thing is this. no matter how many convictions you have, if you are not on paper, you're not on straight probation, you're not on parole, you can register to vote in the state of Texas. One other thing, if you are on paper for a felony for deferred adjudication probation, you can register to vote because that is not a conviction. You can vote. Federal people, if you own federal probation for a misdemeanor, you can vote. If you're on federal probation for a felony, your probation has to conclude before you can vote. If you've been to the federal pen and you have not out on supervised release, don't vote because you still on paper. Supervised release is still paper. When your supervised release is resolved, concluded, over with, you ain't going down to the Earl Campbell building no more to meet with the parole officer or the probation officer, then you can then register to vote. All individuals that can register needs to vote, but do not allow them to say, since you've had some blimps in your life in the past, that you can't vote. You can vote as long as you are not on paper.
There it is. Don't get no cleaner than that.
Yeah.
No cleaner than that. You know, I think it's about time for us to take a break. I know, Vic, I know you have the drops that we need to play. And we're getting ready to roll into a couple of drops, and we come right back.
All right.
Who was that masked man? You mean you don't know? That was no masked man. That was the Commish. Saturdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Hi, my name is Gail Todd with Townview Realtors. If you find yourself in the market to buy, sell, lease, or maybe you want to be a part of this hot real estate market by investing, just give my team of professionals and I a call at 214-675-9572. Again, that's 214-675-9572. Or you can email me at gtodd88@yahoo.com. With me, it's all about you.
What's up, beautiful peoples out there? It's your boy Maul, a.k.a. Cool Pop Watson, baby. Make sure you check my man out 3 to 5 every Saturday. Commish Radio Show. Make sure y'all come check my man out.
Go. Here we go. All right.
We back with Legal Standpoint.
Yep.
With Michael J. Todd.
Yeah.
That's me.
I know.
Hosted by the Commish.
Yeah,
that's you.
Me.
That's you.
That's me. You know, I'm curious, man. You know, what is really going on, man? This is like, I'm beginning to think Facebook got us on lock or something, man. Because, you know, I'm saying I want people to understand that this is two intelligent brothers sitting out here dropping the knowledge about what you can do strategically, you know, about getting information and making a change with this information.
Right.
What else you have, man?
Man, we got a lot of stuff, man. Because the thing is this. We talked about, number one, how Democrats, black folks, we've been real hesitant as it relates to voting or to consider to vote. And don't get me wrong, I am not sitting here advocating black folks need to become Republicans.
Because I ain't saying that.
Because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
Nor am I saying I was ever a Republican either.
Right. Oh, wait a minute, you know what? You see how brothers say that with strong emphasis.
I was never, no.
Hey.
I had to get
don't even curse me like that.
I had to get that Chuck D voice in there. No.
Right. But the thing is that we have to think strategically about this situation. Because like you said earlier, it seems like the Democrats are not trying to message the things that they have done well, and they're allowing the Republicans to do what? To direct the message, to dominate the message.
Hey, you know what? If I was getting people jobs, I would be telling people that every day.
Every day.
You know, you got more jobs under my administration than the last guy.
Right.
You got more jobs in it. You know, remember student loans? You got more money in your pocket now, right?
Right. Well, people sitting around like no student loan has been forgiven. They're saying that Biden didn't keep his promise with that. Now, he did have a program that went before the Supreme Court. They knocked that program out, but he has still had millions of individuals. I think I saw a figure, it was in the billions, that they have forgiven for school loans. But people act as if that hadn't happened. You know, he passed the infrastructure. Under Trump's administration, every month for 4 years, they would come out and say it's infrastructure week. They talked about how we're going to pass this infrastructure law where we're going to go through and rebuild the roadways and the bridges and things of that nature. And in the 4 years, it didn't happen. Not one time, not nothing. Biden, within his first year, passed the Infrastructure Act. And we've got people now working good jobs, starting to rebuild roadways, tunnels, bridges.
They ain't talking about it.
And ain't talking about it. You know, they ought to be slapping medallions on projects and, you know, showing, hey, this is courtesy of so-and-so. But nobody's saying anything. What about the CHIP Act? The CHIP Act, of course, this.
You know, I'm getting mad, man. You keep saying it. I'm just getting mad.
Why are you getting mad?
Did you see that clip, man, I hate to bring this up, man. It's been a week. I'm still feeling some kind of way about the Cowboys, man.
Oh, man, come on. How you get to the Cowboys?
Because you saw the deal where Michael Irvin was like saying their asses and everything. You saw that? You ain't seen that?
Yeah, I saw it. But
okay.
What that got to do with the CHIP Act?
No, it has everything to do with what you just said. The CHIP Act, the Infrastructure Act. I mean, I'm tired of the Democrats going like, okay, yeah, we're going one in and out. And that's exactly what we in. We getting there, and it's one in and out. We're losing.
Right, okay, all right, well, you know, all right, okay.
We're losing.
All right, so, well, I mean, but Cowboys been doing that for 28 years.
We ain't talking about the Cowboys. We talking about the Democrats of being like the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, all right, well, bring it to me then, baby. You know,
because you got all this good stuff, and you're not even using it.
Right. Well,
you're
people
using it.
But people don't even know about it.
That's because they ain't even told nobody about it.
Right. Well, let's tell them about the CHIP Act.
Tell them about it.
All right, we've got the CHIP Act. The CHIP Act, you know,
choked up, man.
During the pandemic, you remember how all the cars and things of that nature were all on back order because we didn't have enough computer chips,
right,
to in the supply chain to get these cars made. So we had cars and automobile production lines just shut down because no chips. So what happened is Biden led the way in passing the CHIP Act. And the CHIP Act is giving incentives and money to build chip facilities here in the United States so we will not be dependent upon China or other countries to provide chips in this particular country.
Keeping jobs here.
Keeping jobs here.
Ain't nobody told nobody that.
And also doing what? Ensuring that our national defense and economic security is going to be provided for.
Ain't
nobody told nobody that. Nobody that. And so people are saying like, well, what have they done? They haven't done anything.
Throwing interceptions.
Right. Just throwing interceptions. But the thing is, I gotta say one thing though, Ed. I gotta say one thing. As Democrats, we are real easy to start complaining.
Oh, we complain at the drop of the hat.
We complain all the time. You know, sometimes it's kind of like a football game. You know, my nephew's the head coach over at South Oak Cliff.
Yep.
Won back-to-back state championships. Got cheated out this third one, but I'm not going to go down there.
See, it's time for you to get mad too.
But this is the thing that sometimes when you're watching a high school game, you know, the fans act like it should just be Oklahoma of, you know, Barry Switzer days playing Abilene Christian, where it's just going to be 70-0 every game. Sometimes you got a game, and games ebb and flow, and you have adversity. And so when adversity surfaces, you have to do what? You have to band together to work through the adversity to make sure you meet your objective, which is winning the game.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
One thing about Democrats is that we always so quick to start complaining, well, he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that.
We want the easy stuff.
We want the easy stuff.
We want the easy wins. If you're going to win, you're going to have, like you just say, be in some tough ones from time to time.
Right. You're going to have to. And so from that standpoint, we have to do what? We have to not start talking about, oh, Biden too old. Biden ain't done nothing. You know, you fall into the narratives because, you know what? That's the same thing that happened to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, when she ran in 16, you had a narrative that was going out there, both of them worthless. Trump's worthless, she's worthless, it doesn't make a difference. And what it does is it allows other people who hear that to then say, oh, it doesn't make a difference who I vote for because neither one are good. So you got to push back on that. You can't allow that to just ride. Oh, this person ain't doing nothing. Yeah, he has done something. You got to push back, and you have to let those people know, right? So that's something that we've got to do if we're going to try to be successful. If we're not going to do that, we got to try to come up with some strategic things like we're talking about now.
Now, those other strategic things you're talking about, what else you have on your strategic sheet list?
Well, the thing is this. One of the issues that would be a problem is that if hordes of folks went from the Democratic primary to the Republican primary to try to affect that, then that leaves our Democratic candidates kind of hanging in the wind. And so then the question is, who do we end up actually representing us for our interests and our needs? Because what we have to remember is this is being discussed as a strategy to lessen the impact of the Republican side. However, in the general election, an individual, no matter how you voted in the primary, you can vote for whoever you want to in the general election. So you can be a Democrat, vote in the Republican primary, and then support all your Democrats that you want. But you would lose your right to pick which Democrat. Let's say if I decided I was going to vote in the Republican primary to try to influence who was going to be the presidential candidate, then I'm going to lose my right to be able to choose between Colin Allred, who's my guy, right, versus the other 2 or 3 people that are running against him. And some of those other people are formidable foes, people that he has to actually run against. So I would have to weigh, is my vote over here on the Republican side, would that negate me getting who I want as it relates to the Democratic senator candidate? So that's something that's a serious discussion. So I would think that each individual citizen would have to make a value decision of what races are important to you. Now, one thing that's important in this case, in this go around, you remember we had the governor race in 2022. We had the attorney general race in 2022. I think, didn't Corrin run in 2022? Mm-hmm. So really, the only big state race is for the Senate. Right, against Cruz. I think there's a race for the Railroad Commission or something like that. I know that's a position that's fond to you, the Railroad Commission.
Yeah, it is fond to me.
And so
inside joke, we'll tell you guys that on this show afterwards.
Right. So that's fond to him. So that could be something that you have to struggle with. You also would not get a chance to vote for, let's say, if there's a race between a House seat. Right. With respect to me, my Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, is running. She's got a couple of little folks that are running against her. Now, I don't think that's really going to affect how I would make my decision of where to vote, because I don't think that those other individuals would rise to the level of being a serious threat to Jasmine. But that would be something that I would have to take into consideration. And that's something that weighs on you as you make a decision of how strategic we should be. So you get to that point.
And see, that's a deep one.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
That's a deep one. You just said right now they're your friends, right?
Yeah, they're my friends.
Now,
yeah, I know them. I mean, it's not like it's just somebody I know.
Here's the phone. Call them up and tell them you're going to vote in Republican primary.
I didn't say I was. I said we thinking about how strategically we can do it.
We're going to be strategizing it is.
Well, you know what? I probably will run something by and see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, I don't give
what
away my votes.
What we need to do is we need to call them up one day and have them to possibly call in here and say, give us their insight.
Right. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Since we know.
Right. Now, the bottom line, though, we've talked about the strategic reasons of doing this, but it all boils down to the numbers. You follow what I'm saying? And so what I did, I went through.
It's always numbers.
It's always numbers.
Always numbers.
And so what I did, I went back and I looked at the 2020 primary numbers, all right? And the reason I went to 2020 is because that was the year that there was a presidential election, which is like 2024, okay? And so I looked at the number of people who voted in the Democratic primary. And when I looked at that, and it was people I never heard of. Well, I heard of them, but there were so many people, but there were approximately 1.4 million people that voted in the Democratic primary, all right? 1.4 million. Donald Trump himself in 2024 garnered 1,898,000 votes, 664. That's him by himself. There were other Republicans that ran, right? And they probably added up to another 130,000. So let's say they were over 2 million, all right? The difference between every vote in the Democratic primary versus the number that Donald Trump got in 2020 was 457,242 votes. So for this strategy to work, we would have to have basically 460,000 Democrats to come forward and vote not in the Democratic primary, but in the Republican primary in this particular election. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, considering the Democrats don't come out and vote in the Democratic primary either.
Right, because we only had 1.4. We had a little bit under 1.5 million.
Because I've often heard that we are a non-voting state.
Right, but let's think about this too, though. Now, that's the bad part of it, right?
Okay, there's a good part?
There's a good part. We always got to look at the bad and the good, right?
Let's get to the good part then.
I went to the 2020 general election, all right? And in that general election, Trump won. He won probably by, about 600,000 votes. But guess what? Joe Biden got 5.2 million votes in the general election. So that means that if we could mine more Democrats or moderates, right, to vote, right, who voted in the general election to actually participate in the primaries, we could still have enough people to make sure that our good people are Democrats, and we could spoil the ascension of the Orange Cheeto again.
Orange Cheeto. Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Follow what you're saying.
But the thing is, it would take effort. I mean, we talking here on the podcast. I mean, we reach a number of people, but this is going to have to be something that's going to have to, people are going to have to just reach out and say, hey, look, this is something we want to do. We need some organization on this thing.
That's the reason why we wanted you, ladies and gentlemen, to look at this show, to share it. Still got some more time. When is election time?
The election will be March.
We ain't got that much time.
Yeah, that's a month and a half. But you know what? With the power of the internet and the power of podcasts and things of that nature, a movement, within a month, man, they had enough people to go and tear up the Capitol.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surely we should be able to motivate enough people. I mean, if you're concerned about democracy, if you're concerned about whether we're going to have a country, I read an article today. They said, man, we got more guns in America than we got people.
That's true.
And they say with this political divide, no matter who wins, we may end up in a civil war. You know, and that could be true. That could be true. But the thing is this. We got to make some decisions on how we're going to move forward. What's important to you? Can we mobilize? You know, we always sitting around, I'm talking about we, you know, when I say we now, I'm talking about we. We always talking about, hey, they ain't doing us right or things of that nature. Well, sometimes we just got to, you know, grab the bull by the horns and make something happen. That's how it got to be.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, is that the last word?
That's the last word.
I guess that's the last word.
It would take effort, but the numbers are there. But it would take work to make it happen. But what if Donald Trump, and you know what? We didn't even get into this now. Because, of course, his main opponent is going to be Nikki Haley. And, of course, Nikki Haley came out this week talking about America's never been a racist country. So I know a bunch of people are sitting there thinking like, man, ain't no way in the world I'm going to the Republican side and vote for her to try to stop him. But the thing is this. I would rather have her than him to deal with. I mean, I really would. But, you know, that's something that each person has to make a value judgment on. But it would be lovely if we woke up on March the 3rd, on Super Tuesday, when Trump was thinking he was just going to wrap up the nomination, and we had a swath of these 17 open primary states that he lost.
That would be good.
That would be good.
That would be good to see.
Right. That would be good.
But you know what? It's about time for us to see our way out the door.
No, I appreciate it.
Hey, but thank you for coming.
All right.
All right. Hey, Vic, I think it's about time for us to leave. And, hey, we appreciate you for tuning in on the Commish Radio Show, powering Legal Standpoint with Michael J. Todd. We want you to think about what was heard and what you heard today, and just think about it to see what you can do. If you got a better way, let's try it, because democracy is on the line. All right, thank you again. We will see you back next week on the Commish Radio Show.
All right. Everybody have a good day.
Who was that masked man? You mean you don't know? That was no masked man. That was the Commish. Saturdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Hey, you know, whenever I want good Cajun food, I go to Thibodeau's, located at 107 North Cedar Ridge. And